Good morning. It turns out the jurors found Karen Read not guilty on count one of vehicular manslaughter. They unanimously found her not guilty. Okay, this is great news. I woke up to this news and I am beyond thrilled. How do we know this? Alan Jackson, Karen Read's attorney, filed a motion at 9 a.m. with the court today in which he said that Juror A had contacted him, and he verified that it was a juror on the trial, saying that Karen Read's rights were violated by her not having been informed that they had unanimously found her not guilty on count one, second-degree murder, and count three, leaving the scene of an injury or death. Unanimously not guilty. They were split on the second charge of vehicular manslaughter, which I don't get because she didn't hit him. I think it had to do with the DUI. I don't really know, but this is big. And apparently the judge, Auntie Bev, as they call her, did not do a poll. She should have done a poll to ask them which counts they were hung up on, where they were split, and why. And she didn't. And according to the DUI guy, and I watch his videos, that is her misconduct. I do agree she did seem like she was a little moody and testy, and I don't know if she was rooting for one side or the other. But it's important to know that the jury unanimously found Karen Read not guilty. So let's stop saying that she hit him. Now, that's the first part I want to say. They found her not guilty, and the judge should have done a poll of the jury and announced the results to the court. So that way Karen Read would have her innocence declared on those charges and could not be retried on those charges. Alan Jackson went on to say, and I'm reading from his motion, that had the court so inquired of the jury foreperson on which counts the jury was at an impasse, it appears clear that not guilty verdicts would have been recorded for count one and count three. Ms. Read was denied her right to receive those verdicts in her favor. And maybe that also means that they can't retry her on those charges. Now, the other thing that I think that I had a lot of questions about was the Commonwealth, or the prosecution, opening statement was she hit him. That she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, like that was their strongest point. And it was never clear to me that she said that morning. I was always kind of like trying to figure out, did she really say it? That was very unclear. The prosecution never made the case that that's what she actually said. So now I'm going to go through and read somebody who actually took the time to go through, a journalist who's a true crime junkie on Twitter, who actually went through the deep dive into one of the leading pieces of evidence of Karen Read saying, I hit him. She says that she's a paralegal, and the first thing she looked at is that claim, I hit him. And this is why it was so unclear whether she said it, because, there were 13 people who interacted with Karen the morning of January 29th when John O'Keefe's body was found. And all four of these people have some issues with their credibility. We have Timothy Nuttall from the Canton Fire Department, Anthony Fernati from the Canton Fire Department, Katie McLaughlin from the Canton Fire Department, and Jennifer McCabe, a witness. So these four people are the ones that say that's what she said. Now let's go look into this a little bit further. So the first one is firefighter Timothy Nuttall. He told the lead investigator Proctor a week later that he heard this phrase. And he also said that John was wearing a big puffy coat. as we know, there was no big puffy coat. So his credibility is kind of questionable because no one wrote this down in their reports on the scene. That's the thing. It was never written down. Any of the people who wrote reports that morning never said that she said, "I hit him." So these are all things that people came up with later. And that's part of the cover-up. So that's because I kept thinking, did anyone write this in a report that she said that at the scene? And no, let's continue. The second is firefighter Anthony Flamati. The first documented place he reported this phrase was on the stand at trial 2.5 years later. He didn't put it in his report. He didn't notify the police. He didn't tell the emergency room staff that information would be important to treating doctors. No. The third person who said that Karen Read said, "I hit him," is firefighter Katie McLaughlin. She says a cop heard Karen say it and said, "Get gooed down here," Goode. The problem is no cop on scene heard it, no one got gooed down there, and Good didn't put it in a report or say it at trial. There's also the Albert connection and possible perjury. The fourth person who heard it, quote unquote, is Jennifer McCabe. Despite her claims on the stand that she told both Proctor and Lang on that day, it's not documented in their reports either. At the state grand jury in April 2022, she phrased it as Karen Read saying, "Did I hit him?" 12 times and never uttered, "I hit him." In April 2023, a year later, the public learned that Jennifer McCabe had done this Google search, "How's long to die in cold," which would be how long, but she mistyped it, at 2:20 in the morning because they had put him out to die and she wanted to know how long it would take him to die in the cold. The public learned her for Google search and she was targeted. So 2 months later is when, at the federal grand jury, is the first documented time McCabe attributed "I hit him" to Karen, and that's at the FBI investigation where she was interviewed at the federal grand jury. That's when she came up with that phrase. So, like I said, there were 13 people on scene that morning. What did the other 9 people hear? Saraf heard her say, okay, these are the things that the other people heard Karen Read say. Saraf, "Is he dead?" And later, "It's all my fault." Good, "Is he dead?" Mulaney, "Is that my boyfriend? Is he dead?" Kelly, "He's dead. He's fucking dead." Walsh, "Is he alive?" Woodbury, "Is he dead?" Whitley, "Could he be alive?" Becker, "Could he be dead? Could I have hit him?" Roberts, "Are they working on him? Is he alive? If anything happens to John, I'll kill myself." Canton PD officers Lang and Gallagher didn't interact with Karen that morning, but were called back to 34 Fairview by McCabe. Their report states that Jen told them Karen said, "I hope I didn't hit him." McCabe was interviewed by Proctor that same day, and his report states, "Oh my God, I hope I didn't hit him." So what do we think here? Are the 4 people who heard "I hit him" credible? Why didn't the other 9 people hear it? Or even if Karen did say it, does the rest of the evidence make it true? So that's the "I hit him." Now let's look at Paul O'Keefe, the brother. Okay. I'm reading Turtle Boy's comments on Twitter. And I don't reply to any of this because I'm just reading the stuff. Twitter is a really good place to get up-to-the-date news, by the way. So Turtle Boy wrote yesterday that he spoke with Paul O'Keefe in May of 2023. So that would have been like a little bit a year after they murdered his brother, the Alberts and McCabes. while he was using his murdered brother's Facebook account. He said he was happy the FBI was involved in investigating the investigation of his brother's murder. Yet, during his interview with Christina Rex, who's a reporter, in that interview, he said that the FBI investigation should never have happened and that Josh Levy should not have intervened in this. I don't know if he has brain damage from alcoholism or what, but Paul O'Keefe is way out to lunch here. So I'm going to read to you now what we know about the FBI investigation. Now that the trial is over, Turtle Boy can write about this. So, as noted before, the FBI investigation included crash reconstruction experts with PhDs who concluded that his brother's injuries were not consistent with the car crash and that the damage to Karen Read's vehicle were inconsistent with hitting a pedestrian, as they said at trial and as I've said before in this video. So those of you watching, you already knew this. The FBI investigation proved that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert lied to a state grand jury when they said they were sleeping at 2:22 a.m. because their phone data showed that they were calling each other. And remember, on the stand, they claimed it was butt dials. Butt dials is something that happened when people still had phones with push buttons. Now people lock their phones. You don't have butt dials. But they had like dozens of butt dials, these people. The FBI investigation proved that both of these men destroyed their phones and SIM cards the day before a preservation order was given by Judge Krupp. So they knew the order was coming, and they did say on the stand that they destroyed their phones and SIM cards, attributing it to, I just wanted to get a new phone. The FBI investigation concluded that Jennifer McCabe did in fact Google "How's long to die in cold" at 2:27 a.m., which she tried to say, oh, that's just a fluke on my phone. I made that search in the morning after we saw him. The FBI investigation showed that Michael Proctor, the lead investigator who is now relieved of his duties, bragged to his friends that Brian Albert would not be investigated as a normal person would be if a dead cop showed up on their front lawn because Brian Albert was a Boston cop. Paul O'Keefe, the brother of the dead officer, also told me that he wanted to know what happened that night more than anyone. This is Turtle Boy writing. The FBI investigation he previously supported showed him that the people he chose to bring to court with him all destroyed evidence and dehumanized his brother after he was murdered. Let's remember that on the day that the verdict was read, he marched into court with all of the murderers of his brother, the McCabes, the Alberts. I don't think Brian Higgins was there. Marched to court with them and sat with them. And he still thinks that they're his friends, that they would never do such a thing. They would never harm a fly. They murdered his brother. I still don't know why they didn't call 911 after they accidentally murdered him. I don't think they did it intentionally, but instead of calling 911, they pulled him out on the front lawn and left him to die and then Googled how long to die in the cold. But Paul O'Keefe chooses to think those are his friends. Paul O'Keefe didn't really want to know what happened because Detective Paul O'Keefe, and this is in quotes, had solved the mystery by noon. Because see, by noon on the day that his dead brother was found, he had already decided that Karen Read was guilty. He already decided it based on this evidence. Because Karen drove back to be with her family rather than get snowed in with the hostile O'Keefe family that had been influenced by Jennifer McCabe while Karen was undergoing a mental evaluation in the hospital. Therefore, according to Columbo O'Keefe, she was guilty of murder because she didn't stay with their family. She left to go home and kind of said goodbye to them. So that, in his mind, made her guilty, and that's his whole evidence. That's his evidence. I just know it in my gut. Now he says he wants to have a conversation with Josh Levy. I think Josh Levy is like a DA or investigator. I'm not sure. I don't know who that is. What for? Levy could show him a video of his brother being beaten to death inside Brian Albert's house, and Paul would just run to Jennifer McCabe and have her explain to him why it's a lie. He doesn't want to hear the truth because he's not ready to accept what the people he has surrounded himself with have done to his family. John O'Keefe deserves better than this from his brother. So that's what we have so far. We have that the jury found her unanimously not guilty of hitting John O'Keefe. We know that she never said I hit him, that only 4 of the 13 people on the scene said that, and they all made it up after the fact. One of them made it up a year later. It was never in any reports. And we know that Paul O'Keefe has no evidence at all, and that the FBI investigation also showed that the Jennifer O'Keefe, that Karen Read did not have anything to do with the death, and that, I don't know if they actually found that it was the people in the house, but they found that the prosecution's witnesses and the people in the house lied, destroyed their phones, destroyed their SIM cards, committed perjury, and that their accident reconstruction experts found that she didn't hit him with a car and he wasn't hit with a car. So again, this is a nationwide news story. I've been very interested in it. It's a very interesting case of how people get so caught in thinking that they're right. They don't want to look at the evidence, and police corruption. I think we're not even done with this case yet. There's going to be more coming out. If you haven't followed it yet, I'm sure there are already movies made about it. There will be movies made about it. When I first started following this case, I thought she was guilty because she looked guilty. So I just knew I was right. But then I started listening to the trial, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like, there's no evidence. Like, where's the evidence? And there wasn't any, and there isn't any. So unfortunately, the O'Keefe family is best friends with the murderer of their son and brother. And I'm so glad that the jurors came out and said what their ultimate verdict was, because the public deserves to know and Karen Read deserves to know. So thank you so much for watching my video. If any of you like to follow true crime or jury trials, right now the next jury trial that everybody's talking about is the Alec Baldwin trial. I don't really know that much about guns, but I might make a video about that. Actually, I'll just throw a quick thing in. I think that it was an accident. I think he did pull the trigger. I think he felt awful about it, but he's a very arrogant man, easy to anger. It happened the day after a lot of the people have walked off the set because they were so fed up with the lax rules and not being treated well. I think he was in a bad mood. He was angry, and so he was just pointing his gun and shooting it. And you're never supposed to shoot a gun. That's the number one rule of gun safety, is never point a gun at anyone, loaded or not. And then he came out and lied. He didn't take responsibility. I think I think that what he should do is say, I did it, it was an accident, and I take full accountability. That's what I would do. I wouldn't be able to live with the guilt of trying to lie and cover it up. He obviously did it, and there's just a lot more with that trial. He hired an armorer who had no experience at all. The typical armorer on a movie set is like a retired, fire marshal or FBI agent or gunnery Marine or something, and this was just some young woman whose dad was an armorer, but she was just young and inexperienced, and he was able to just boss her around, and she was like doing drugs on the set, and people were like shooting. There were live rounds on the set. Like, she was not qualified, and she wasn't able to stand up to him and his very aggressive, contemptuous way of treating people and just belittling people and being like grandiose. He's grandiose. He's like, well, I'm Alec Baldwin. I can shoot a gun. Boom, boom, boom. I don't have to go to safety trainings. I don't have to pay a good armorer. And he cut a lot of corners, but I think it was his impulsiveness and his anger that caused the accident. And now he's being a coward by not taking responsibility. He did pay off the husband, he did settle that, but I guess he doesn't want to go to jail because he's got 7 little kids, you know. So that's an interesting case. I'm not following any other cases, but what cases are you following? Have you followed the Karen Read trial? Again, anyone who's saying she's guilty will be hidden from the channel for being stupid. We like intelligent people here, and let me know what other cases you're following that I might also want to follow. And thank you for watching my video.